Friday, November 15th here in Manila. I'm Lexi, Schulze, sitting in for Karen Davila, giving you the head start for the day. Our guest for Hot Copy, the preacher in blue jeans, Sanchez, to tell us how he's able to inspire both the faithful and aspiring entrepreneurs. On Hot Copy, day-to-day living can be a burden for most, but one lay evangelist has made it his mission to transform challenges in both faith and finance into opportunities for growth. Here's a look.
How many of you want more blessings?
Decades since first addressing an audience at 13, preacher and lay evangelist Sanchez has been spreading the good news to the Filipino faithful. Now he has 11 best-selling books under his name, a successful magazine, and a multimedia reach. The preacher in blue jeans continues his mission of helping others achieve their full potential. Later this month, he leads the Kerygma Conference, which is marking its 8th year. For the first time, younger participants can also take part in the Kerygma Youth Conference. Touted to be the country's biggest inspirational learning event, the Kerygma Conference serves as a platform for this micro-entrepreneur to teach others what he knows about financial literacy and help them reap the gains of full faith in oneself, God, and others.
The moment you feel the worry, the moment you feel the stress.
Joining us in the studio, lay evangelist and best-selling author, the preacher in blue jeans, Sanchez. Welcome to... You know what? I should have been in jeans today.
Okay.
So we would have been matching, because that's my favorite thing to wear, because it's comfort.
That's right.
You know, it can still be fashionable. Okay, let's talk. I'm so happy to meet you today because, you know, I also help with On the Money, and I hear about you a lot, but it's my first time to come face to face with you. Your story, thank you. Your story is an interesting one, though, because you got started so early. You got started at 13. You knew your mission in life. Tell us about that.
I came to know God in a very personal way when I was 12 years old. And then when I was 13, I decided I'm going to serve him. So I started preaching at the age of 13.
But how did you start? Where did you go?
Well, we were attending a Catholic prayer meeting, a little prayer group of about 30 people. And then the leader of the prayer group just announces to everybody, I was praying last night and God told me that one of you will start to preach and he will receive the gift of wisdom and blah, 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 blah. And so out of the 30 people, everyone was happy, but out of the 30 people, my mother was the happiest because the pronoun used was he. We'll start preaching the gospel. There were only 2 guys in that prayer group.
Ah, babae lahat.
Yeah, her. So my mom was so happy because it's either her husband or her son. So
either way, she won.
Yeah.
But when she found out, or when when the preacher said it was you, were you shocked, or did you feel enlightened, or did you know somehow that it was going to be you?
You know, I was 13 years old, and I really wanted to say yes to God, and so this fell on my lap, and I said, okay, I'll do it.
So then and there, you
the next week.
The next week now.
She said, our prayer group leader said, why don't you preach next week? And so I did. That was my first time.
What did you do? Did you have to prepare for it the whole week?
I did. I went through my Bible, and then I said, you know, what you want me to preach about, and so I opened it like a deck of cards by closing my eyes, and then I landed and then I started writing everything I knew about. I think I pointed the word eternal life, and so I wrote down everything I knew about eternal life, about 20 pages, and I gave that talk.
But at 13, I mean, you have to have a certain amount of wisdom to be able to preach to a lot of people perhaps older than you. Do you feel like it was really just a God-given gift?
In my heart, I believe it was God's gift, and I did not deserve any bit of it. But thank God it came.
But at 13, 14, so you decided to be amongst the poor.
Yes.
Because you wanted to be a preacher, you wanted to help them as well.
Yes.
But your mindset at that point was, if you are going to be around the poor, you have to be poor yourself.
Absolutely.
Why did you start out that way?
Because when I was 14 years old, I read the book of St. Francis of Assisi, his life. And I fell in love with the guy. I said, I'm going to love like Francis. I'm going to be like Francis. I'm going to look like Francis. I'm going to smell like Francis. And I started bringing street kids from EDSA and brought them home. I got all my clothes, gave them to the poor. And I drove my mother crazy.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I remember bringing home an old man from EDSA, you know, covered with grease. He hasn't taken a bath for a year. And I said, Mom, he's going to live with us. And my mom said, over my dead body, you know. And I said, no, look, that street kid I brought home a while ago is going to stay in my room. This old man is going to stay in your room. So I was just driving her nuts.
Siguro nanay mo, no?
And then at the age of 14, I said, since I can't bring them home, I'm going to live with them. And she allowed me. She trusted me, and my father trusted me. So I lived in a slum area at the age of 14, you know, just doing ministry work.
That's a very brave mother.
Yeah.
Because I'm a mother, and for me to be able to do that.
But she knew that I had friends. I had friends, and she knew that I had a mission in my life. So I went door to door in the slum area, shared Jesus to them, you know, sat down, prayed with them. That was my life. I wanted to be poor. I thought that to be holy was to be poor. To be close to God was to be poor.
But we all know, though, that, you know, you also mix finance now into your preaching.
Yes.
What made you shift? That's a huge shift, though, because from being around the poor and that being your life, what was the shift for you?
When I was approaching 30 years old, so I was this poor missionary and loved it and was very happy.
For decades pala.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden, it dawned on me, not all of a sudden, but slowly, and then it hit me that here I was, you know, preaching, praying for people, a lot of people asking for prayer. And I noticed that a lot of them, maybe more than 50%, would have financial problems. And that I had no wisdom to give to them because I did not want to touch money, did not want to touch business, did not know anything about investments, didn't even want to enter a bank. And so that kind of like said, God, you know, what can I, it was born out of helping. Like I wanted to help people, but how could you help people except to pray? You know, oh, you have a financial problem, you know, pray. That's it. I said, it was so frustrating. I said, something has to happen. So I dove into the world of money from the perspective of love.
But how did you do that? Did you take classes? Did you read books? Because, I mean, finance is a whole different animal.
Oh, yeah.
And to start at 30, I mean, it's possible.
Yeah.
It's possible, but, you know, a lot of people your age would have had a great head start from you.
Absolutely.
So what exactly did you do to get the wealth of knowledge about finance?
First of all, it was a mind shift. It was a mindset that I had to change, a paradigm. And I prayed a lot, you know. And then I talked to mentors, spiritual mentors, and as well as financial mentors. And then I started reading books, started attending seminars, and then action. You know, all the thoughts and ideas would have no effect if I didn't do it. So I had to do it and dove into investing, dove into businesses, failed 12 times, you know, lost a lot of money.
That's when you learn.
Absolutely.
But then, you know, the timeline's a little blurred because you did publish your first book at 20.
Yes.
So that wasn't about finance yet.
No.
What was your first book?
It was all spiritual, all about prayer and faith and love and salvation and yeah.
And how did you get to publish that? I mean, you were amongst the poor. Did you?
Yeah, we put up a non-profit publishing media ministry called Shepherd's Voice. And so from the very start, we started, you know, we came out with magazines and all non-profit, you know, just wanted to share the gospel.
And then so you started doing books because you say that you have more than 30 books now, I think, right?
Yes.
So when did you see the shift in, okay, these are spiritual reading materials as opposed to financial reading materials?
Yeah.
Past 30, you started writing about that.
That's right. Past 30, I decided, you know, to experience God not only in church. I think that's wrong. That's a wrong notion to think that, oh, God in church, that's where I discover Him. No, God has to be discovered in family. God has to be discovered in your job. He has to be discovered in your recreation, in your health, and yes, in money. He's got to be there. If He's going to be Lord of your life, He's going to be Lord of every area.
Well, speaking of family, you also do have a family, right? So it's hard to sort of live in poverty and have to take care of a family too. So maybe this helped you decide, or did you have a family after 30?
I got married when I was 32.
Okay.
And so when I was approaching 30 and I made that decision, I'm going to get married, I said, I've got to change my retirement plans. Because my retirement plans then was to live in the sidewalk, you know, with a newspaper as my blanket.
Right.
And be St. Francis and be a beggar. But you know, when I said, I'm going to get married, I'm going to have kids, I can't tell my wife and my kids, okay, let's now sleep. Here's the sports section. Here's the business section of the newspaper. Let's all sleep. I could not do that.
Right.
I said, there's something about money that maybe can be sanctified. That it's something that you can use for your family, for yourself, and yes, for other people to bless and serve.
So how did you start making money that way? Was it through your books? How did you make money for your family?
I had a little allowance that I was receiving from my organizations that I built, and then after that, I started earning from small businesses that I would put up. And yes, they failed. You know, every so often I had to go through the bankruptcy of the business, and then, but ultimately,
we all go through that, though.
Yes.
We all go through the failure to reach success as well.
In fact, I've realized this, that the most successful people in the world have the most failures. And so
every time they fail, they come back with a lesson learned.
That's right. That's right. They made a survey in the US that billionaires, before they hit it big, went through 18 failures. So I've got 6 more.
No. You've got a Bo Sanchez franchise going on. I mean, you have a Preacher in the Blue Jeans, you have your books, and of course you have your seminars, which is also very important for you. And I'm sure it's bread and butter for you too.
Some of them. Most of them are, I donate all my profits in my writing and all my books. I donate it all to the ministry. Corporate speaking, I donate it also to the ministry. So I really rely on my businesses.
Wow, so it's really separate. You sort of have your life separate. You have different hats, though.
That's right.
And with the seminars, when did you get that started? Because that's also an important aspect of the brand.
Yes. I love doing it. I love meeting people. I love looking at them and then being able to speak into their lives, seeing the changes in their lives. They would come up to me after a few months, after 1 year, 2 years, and they say, you know, I've changed my life, and I can look back and say it happened in that seminar. And so, yeah, I love doing it. I started doing it, you know, I don't even remember, but I started doing these seminars publicly first, and then companies would ask me, you know, can you give this seminar, you know, to our employees? And I said, sure, love to. You know why? Because, you know, if it's a public seminar, they know me as a preacher, so religious people come, oriented to that. But when a company invites me, I get to speak to all sorts of people who would not necessarily go to a religious seminar. And then I'd talk about finance, I'd talk about, you know,
the faith as well. It's a mix.
Yes, self-development, but always from a perspective of love and God. And great.
And it's not only about doing seminars here. You've done seminars in how many countries now? Are you
14.
Counting?
14 countries.
What are some of the more interesting seminars that you've done for people out there?
Definitely on finance. I love OFWs, for example. They have a, can I tell you a little story?
Yes, please. I was going to ask you for success stories.
Yeah. This one is not yet a success story, but later I'll give you one. But this happened very recently. I do exercise in the morning by walking. Nothing
Clears
big.
the mind,
And while doing that, I met a neighbor. The wife was pushing the husband in a wheelchair. And I said, can you pray over us? And Brother Bo, you know, she recognized me, so I prayed over them. 69 years old, both of them. And the husband was an OFW for 32 years, a seaman, second engineer, earning 100,000 pesos a month before he retired.
Okay.
And now, 0. They depend on SSS. You know, she was a retired teacher, 8,000 a month. He, seaman, 5,000 a month, 13,000 pesos a month. Living on that, food, electricity, medicines, requiring 20,000 pesos every single month. You know, so they depend on the charity of their neighbors. They were crying to me as they were sharing this story. And, you know, in my mind, I was computing. This guy earned 20 million pesos over 32 years as a seaman. And now, depending on the charity and generosity of his neighbors to put food on his table. And this is what keeps me going, you know, to go to different countries and to go here, Hong Kong, Singapore, talking to OFWs and saying, look, guys, you know, do something. God wants you not to live in poverty. He gives you wisdom, very simple wisdom of setting aside 20% of your income and knowing where to invest it so that it grows. I'll give you a success story. My helper. 6 years ago, my helpers, my driver, we pray every week for a little prayer meeting at home. And then we discuss all sorts of areas in their life, finances as well.
Kailangan kasali yan eh.
My frustration, these loving people give most of their money
back to the provinces, to their families
and
there.
Nothing is left. So I said, okay, I'm going to teach you how to invest. You know, divide your money. 10% goes to God. 20% you invest for the future, you know, etc., etc. So I taught them how to invest in the stock market.
Pero payag naman sila.
Yes.
You didn't force them to do it.
No. I gave them, you know, I'm a salesman. So I said, do you want to live in, one of our ministries is Anawim. It's a ministry for the poorest of the poor, abandoned elderly people. We pick up old people from the streets, okay? And many of them are helpers who grew old, And the amo said, well, you're too old already, go bye-bye. And so we picked them up from the streets. So I told our helpers, my helpers, I said, you want to live there when you grow old? Or do you want to be rich when you grow old and have the ability to still help? And so they said, yeah, what should we do? So I sold them the idea. I taught them how to invest in the stock market. Some people think that's only for rich people. I disagree. It's something that the simple people can do, but they need a little bit of help.
And they need to learn it.
They need to learn it. They need some guidance, and that's what I gave to them. So after 6 years, one of them has 760,000 pesos already.
Wow, that's a lot. After 6 years?
Yeah. And then our other employees from my personal businesses and employees from our ministries, we've got about 200 of all these employees are already drivers, messengers, managers. All of them, most of them are investing, and they're happy. They know that they will retire as multimillionaires. My helper, who's 31 years old now, at the age of 60, will probably have 20 million.
Wow. Can I be your helper? You have to help me.
I'd love to guide you.
No, because sometimes you really tend to forget that, apart from obviously giving to God, you have to have that percentage to be able to save. But life gets in the way sometimes, Expenses are
That's what happened to this couple that I met in our little village when I was walking. 32 years, earning 20 million. Over those 32 years, not a single cent saved for the future.
Well, you know what? We have a lot to talk about still, but we're going to take a quick break. You stay right there. We'll take a break. When we return, we'll continue our conversation with Bo Sanchez. Hot Copy, we'll be right back. Welcome back to Hot Copy. Lay evangelist, micro-entrepreneur, best-selling author, the preacher in blue jeans, Bo Sanchez, is with us. Okay, so we were talking about the success stories, obviously, but we also, let's talk about quickly people who are just starting out. I'm sure you have a lot of lessons for them because you've also done a lot of businesses, and you say that your profit for your family comes from businesses. So how can you advise them? Maybe like a top 5 things on how to start a business properly. All
right. First of all, this is the major mistake of many people. They look around and say, what's hot?
Mga franchising.
I see this everywhere. I'm going to get into it. First of all, you ask yourself, what am I good in? Saan ako magaling? It's a very simple question, but many people, if you want to go into entrepreneurship, you want to put up your own business, ask that question first and find out the gift that you are to give the world, And usually your gift is something that you're passionate about. And so when the going gets tough, business is not easy.
It's not.
You're going to go through a lot of challenges, and if it's not your passion, you're going to give up. But if you wake up in the morning saying, yes, I love what I do, I'm giving my gift to the world. And it ties with spirituality, because if you believe it's your mission to give this product to the world, it's a service. I really believe business is love. Many people think it's about profit. If it's just about profit, it'll be short-lived.
Right.
But if you want to be a multi-generational thing of service and love, it's got to be rooted in that. So I'm speaking as a preacher, but I really believe this. And my mentors, my business mentors, they totally agree.
But I guess with you, you're lucky in the sense that, you woke up knowing what you wanted to do. Your path was pretty clear and marked for you. But for people out there who just graduated from college, let's say, and the hot thing to do now is enter a BPO. Before it used to be banks, diba? Ngayon BPO, which is good money.
Good.
And they can start that way because they can sort of create a nest egg for themselves. But how do they know, or how do they look for their passion? For those who don't know what it is, because some people know what it is, and they're blessed. Diba? Because it's a gift. But everyone, I think, comes into the world with a gift.
Absolutely.
But how do you find it? That's the question.
The only way is to step out. The only way is to experiment. The only way is to try it out. Someone says, I'm thinking of doing this. Go! The problem is that we're so afraid.
Right.
We're afraid of failure. And when people are afraid of failure, they will always be stuck in a little room. It was like, my analogy is that my son took me one time, my 14-year-old boy took me to ice skating. And in first time. you know. So he was just gliding and circling me, and he's very good, you know.
Fearless.
Fearless. And there I was for the first 30 minutes. I was doing this 1-inch steps, you know, holding the railing, and I could not budge. And then I realized why. I was afraid to fall. And I said, I'll never learn. So I said, okay, I'm going to fall. So I stepped out, and I did fall. I fell a lot of times, but then later on I started gliding about not 1 inch, but maybe 3 feet. But that's my point. My point is, if you want to discover your gift, you want to discover where you should be, your place under the sun in the world, you've got to step out, and then, oops, it's not mine. Then try something else, and then try something else, and try something else. And ultimately, all those experiences, you'll be able to discover who you are.
But how long do you give yourself for failure, though? I mean, because baka naman 55 years old na siya, failing pa rin.
The key is to fail, but having mentors. I always believe in mentors. You cannot mentor yourself. You need to have people who have reached success, who have also had their failures, and then it's really a shortcut, you know. And I'm so blessed because, in other words, the key is humility. And again, I speak as someone, you know, you don't hear this a lot in a business book, but I dare say it is the mother of all virtues. And if you want success, be humble. You know, a lot of people, they don't want to ask, but you've got to ask. And if, let's say, you want to put up a restaurant, then go look for someone who's successful in that industry and tell that person, can I work for you for free? And let me just learn, you know, and let me just watch you, let me shadow you. What do you do? What makes you successful? And that's it. You're going to be successful.
The takeaway for me is really to be humble and to know that there are people better than you, and to be able to learn from them as well.
It even works not just, we're not even talking about entrepreneurship. You look at career, you know. If you want to advance in your career, go to someone who's so successful in what you want to do, and then interview that person, shadow that person, and then a day will come. You'll be that person. Okay,
well, that's the success part, right?
Yes.
But the money part, we also as Filipinos, investing it's sort of like a new-ish concept.
Yes.
Diba? I mean, of course, stock market and all of that.
Yes.
Christmas is coming up.
Yeah.
The bonuses are coming in.
Yes.
I think with us, we like spending it first, right? Before doing something with it. I mean, because this is at least 1-2 months salary, right? 13th, 14th month. What would your advice be to people out there who are just about to get it? Because sometimes November siya pumapasok, diba? What do you do with that money? Because that's a lot of money, and you can do a world of good with it.
Yeah. A lot of people say, I'm going to save whatever's left. Nothing is left.
Never. No, after Christmas, wala na yan.
Wala na. So what happens is that they spend, and then their mindset is, whatever is left, I'm going to save. Reverse the order. Reverse the order. That helper, who, by the way, I promoted to bookkeeper already, you know, so her salary is much better now, who has 760,000 pesos already in her stock market. That's what she did. You know, when there were bonuses where she said, I'm gonna save a big chunk of it, and then I'm gonna. So it's not spend and then save.
Right.
It's save and then spend. My recommendation is, you know, be daring. Cut it in half. You're going to receive your bonus, get 50%, you know, and then maybe 10% give to God, 40% save.
Where do they put it? Because, I mean, you can put it in the savings account, but obviously
it won't work
there are other places.
For long term. We're talking about long-term investments. We're not talking about any kind of... You need to put money in the bank for emergencies. So a little portion. You know, the roof leaks, somebody gets sick, car breaks down, whatever. You need that emergency fund.
Percentage, 20?
I would suggest that the amount would be about 3 times your salary.
For the emergency fund?
For the emergency fund. But then you need to have long-term investment for your retirement, you know. And so at the age of 60, when you retire, or 55, depending if you want to retire early, you'll have this huge amount of money. And my suggestion is that you put it in huge businesses that are there, and that's the stock market. You know, be a partner with Henry C, and be a partner with Gokong Wei, and be a partner with these Taipans, and you can do that by buying their stocks.
Parang I wish that you could have a chat with my 9-year-old, because if somebody told me this at 21 and said, you know, this should be the norm, it becomes a practice that's very natural, diba? So in a way, this is the segue into the Kerygma conference, because this year you are actually inviting the youth.
Yes.
Is this the first time that you're going to do something like this?
No, we've been doing this for some years now. This is our 8th year, and having a youth segment in the Kerygma conference. We've been doing that. So it'll be on a whole Saturday.
Okay.
And it'll be in PICC for the youth conference on a Saturday. Love that. There'll be thousands of people there. And
when you talk about, well, first let's talk about Kerygma.
Yeah.
It's the magazine that you put out. What does it mean?
We started that in 1990.
Okay.
And Kerygma is a Greek word, which means the good news, the gospel.
Okay.
Yeah.
And your circulation numbers are good. We were talking about it a while ago.
30+ thousand. Yeah. Every single month. And then we now have an online version for the magazines, as everyone is going there.
That's true. And I think that's where you find all of the young people.
Absolutely. They're all there, and we really want to reach them. We have a heart for young people. Front and center of what we do, young people.
So what do they have for the Kerygma conference? Maybe you can give me a rundown of some of the activities or the speakers that you have focusing on the youth, because it seems like, I mean, this is like a cesspool of everything and anything that you want to know about, whether it be young, old, I mean, married, singles. You have a thing for singles as well.
Yes. Singles, we have for finance, for business, we've got for families, marriage. We want to strengthen our basic, how do you call it, our view is that we want you to discover, every person to discover God in every area of life. You know, He is not only limited in church, and we're rebelling against that idea. And God wants to be. So, young people, what will happen in the Kerygma conference? A lot of wisdom giving, a lot of guidance, a lot of successful people who will be standing on stage sharing their mistakes, so that you don't have to repeat it all over again in your own life. And we're going to hear from, about faith. So we've got bishops, we've got, Archbishop Sok Villegas will be there, we've got Bishop Onchoco will be there, Bishop Jesse Mercado will be there. So Father Dave Concepcion. But we've got businessmen, we've got Edward Lee of COL Financial, we've got Rex Mendoza of AIG. So we've got all these guys doing great stuff. And
it's a 3-day, is it 3 or 4? No, it's 4 days. It's
4 days.
November 20 to 23. And I mean, I just got blown away by the fact that you have 3 different huge venues.
Yes.
So I'm sure that every year it gets filled up.
And it gets bigger and bigger. We're meeting a need. People want this, They want to experience wisdom, receive wisdom, but in an environment where people are positive about life. There's so much bad news out there, and they want hope. And they want practical guidance, not just empty hope. They want, what are the steps that I need to take to better my life, and to grow closer to God, and to have a great family, and to have a better marriage. So we're doing a great service. And so we've got about 20,000 people who come.
Wow.
And
that's a lot.
For example, on Sunday, there's going to be, we can't fit in MOA Arena in one event. So we have 2 sessions. We one in the morning and one in the afternoon, and so those who cannot attend the Kerygma conference, for example, they can just attend the morning session on a Sunday and experience the blessing there. All they have to do is go to smticket.com and buy 100 pesos for a ticket.
That's so reasonable for everything that you offer.
Yeah, for the Sunday morning, that's.
So let's reiterate, the Kerygma conference is November 20 to 23.
Yes.
20 is the PICC.
Yes.
21 is SMX.
It's still
so
PICC.
20 is PICC, 21 is?
And then 2021 is PICC.
Okay.
22, that will be the SMX. And then 23, that will be MOA Arena.
Okay, well, before I let you go, what's next for Bo Sanchez? It doesn't look like you're done yet.
No, I still want to help a lot of people. I wake up every morning saying, Lord, give me someone to help. So That's what life is all about.
Maybe I'm next. Coffee kaya tayo?
Yes, of course. Anytime.
Well, it was so nice to talk to you this morning, and thank you for sharing with our audience as well. Your stories, success stories, and you know what they can do with their lives as well.
Thank you, Lexi.
All the best to you.
Thank
and
you.
I hope to see you again soon.
All right.
And that's Head Start today. I'm Lexi Schulze. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day, everyone.